Marcus Cole opened his eyes to darkness. His head hurt badly. His mouth was dry. He tried to move his arms, but they were locked in place by metal bands. The air smelled wrong, like burned plastic and something sweet he could not name. He remembered hiking in the mountains. He remembered a light in the sky. Then nothing. A door slid open somewhere above him. Light poured in, so bright it hurt his eyes. Marcus heard clicking sounds, like insects, but deeper, louder. When his vision cleared, he saw them. They were tall, maybe 8 feet, with bodies covered in dark shells like beetles. Their heads had large eyes made of many smaller parts, and their mouths moved sideways instead of up and down. They wore no clothes but had metal bands on their arms that glowed with soft blue light. One of them made a series of clicks and hisses. A device on the wall translated the sounds into English. The human is awake. Note its fear response. Heart rate increased. Pupils wide. Typical primitive reaction. Marcus was not afraid. He was angry. He had been a soldier once, years ago. He had served in places most people never heard about. He had learned to push fear aside and think clearly when things went wrong. Right now, things had gone very wrong, but his mind was already working on the problem. The aliens studied him for 3 days. They took his blood. They scanned his body with strange lights. They asked him questions through their translation machine about Earth, about humans, about war. Marcus answered some questions. He lied when he needed to. He watched and learned. There were other humans on the ship. He heard them crying at night. 12 men and women taken from different places on Earth. The aliens kept them in separate cells and never let them speak to each other. On the 4th day, they made a mistake. A single alien came to take Marcus for more tests. It released the metal bands and pulled him to his feet. It thought he was weak. It thought he was just another scared animal. Marcus grabbed the food tray from the wall. He swung it hard into the alien's throat. The creature made a wet choking sound and fell. Marcus took its arm device and ran. He made it through 2 doors before more aliens came. He killed one with his bare hands, crushing something important in its neck. But there were too many. They shocked him with weapons that made his muscles lock up, and he fell to the floor, unable to move. The captain of the ship came to look at him. This alien was larger than the others, with golden marks painted on its shell. It studied Marcus for a long time. "This one is different," the captain said through the translator. "Most humans beg. This one fights. This one kills. Interesting." Another alien spoke. "Should we terminate it?" The captain made a sound that might have been laughter. "No, I have a better idea. This primitive wants to fight. Let him fight for his life. Send him to Nexer 7. Marcus did not know what Nexer 7 was, but from the way the other aliens reacted, he knew it was bad. They put him in a small metal pod. Through a tiny window, he saw the ship floating in space near a planet that looked sick. The clouds were yellow and green. The land below was black and gray. Lightning flashed constantly across the surface. "Nexer 7. The captain's voice came through a speaker in the pod. "We use it for garbage. Broken machines. Failed experiments. Criminals. Nothing survives there for long. The air is poison. The water is acid. The animals are death itself. Average survival time for your species would be 11 of your Earth days." Marcus said nothing. He was already looking around the pod, noting what he could use. "We will watch you die, human. My people find it entertaining. Perhaps you will last 12 days and give us a good show." The pod launched. Marcus felt his stomach drop as he fell toward the planet. The pod shook and burned as it hit the atmosphere. Through the window, he saw nothing but fire and yellow clouds. The landing was hard. The pod cracked open on impact, and Marcus crawled out into his new world. The air burned his throat with every breath. The sky was the color of bruises, purple and yellow and sick green. The ground was made of black glass that had edges sharp enough to cut. In the distance, strange trees glowed with pale blue light. Things moved in the shadows between them. Marcus stood up. His body hurt everywhere, but nothing was broken. He looked up at the sky where he knew alien satellites were watching him, waiting for him to die. He did not plan to give them what they wanted. The first night was the hardest. The temperature dropped fast, and the glowing trees gave no warmth. Marcus found a crack in the black glass ground and squeezed inside, using pieces of his pod as a blanket. He heard things moving outside, scratching sounds, clicking sounds, hungry sounds. When dawn came, Marcus saw what had been hunting him. They were about the size of large dogs, with 6 legs and bodies covered in blades instead of fur. Their heads were mostly mouth. Later, he would learn the aliens called them shrikes. A pack of them waited outside his hiding spot. They could smell him. They knew he was there. Marcus found a sharp piece of metal from the crashed pod. He waited until the first shrike pushed its head into the crack. Then he struck. The creature screamed and died. The others pulled back, surprised. They had not expected prey to fight. Marcus killed 2 more before the pack decided he was too much trouble. They ran into the glowing forest, leaving him alone with their dead. He ate shrike meat that day. It tasted terrible, but it kept him alive. Over the next week, Marcus explored. He found caves underground where the air was cleaner. He found water that did not burn, hidden deep in the rock. He learned which plants were poison and which were only mostly poison. He learned when to hide and when to fight. On the 11th day, the day the aliens expected him to die, Marcus found a flat rock near the entrance to his cave. He picked up a sharp stone and carved a single line into the surface. Day 1, he thought. This is day 1. Everything before was just preparation. High above, in their comfortable ships, the aliens watched. They had expected a quick death. Instead, they saw a human building a fire, cooking meat, preparing for tomorrow. For the first time, some of them felt something unfamiliar. It took them a while to recognize the feeling. It was unease. Marcus had been on Nexer 7 for 15 days when he found the footprint. It was not human. It was not from any animal he had seen on this planet. It had 4 toes, each one thick and heavy, pressed deep into the soft ground near a cave entrance. Something big had made this mark. Something that walked on 2 legs. Marcus followed the tracks carefully. He moved through the glowing forest, his body low, his metal blade ready. The tracks led down into a cave system he had not explored before. The tunnels went deep into the earth, twisting and turning until all light from outside was gone. He heard voices ahead. Not clicks like the aliens who had taken him. Not growls like the shrikes. Real voices, speaking words he could not understand. Marcus crept forward until he reached a large underground chamber. What he saw there made him stop breathing. There were people, not humans, but people. Living beings sitting around a small fire made from glowing fungus. Marcus counted 17 of them, and no 2 looked the same. The largest was almost 9 feet tall with gray skin and 4 arms. His body was thick with muscle, and his face looked like it was carved from stone. He sat apart from the others, staring at nothing. Near the fire, a small creature worked with pieces of metal and wire. She was barely 4 feet tall, with skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Her fingers were long and delicate, moving with incredible speed. An old one sat wrapped in torn cloth, his eyes white and blind. His skin hung loose on thin bones, and he breathed in slow, painful sounds. Others filled the cave. Some had fur. Some had scales. Some had features Marcus could not describe. But all of them had the same look in their eyes. The look of creatures who had given up hope. Marcus stepped into the light. The reaction was immediate. The four-armed giant jumped to his feet. The small, colorful one scrambled backward. Others screamed or ran or tried to hide. Only the old blind one stayed still. "Wait," Marcus said, holding up his empty hands. "I am not here to hurt you." They did not understand his words, but they understood his gesture. Slowly, the panic faded. The giant stood watching Marcus with eyes full of suspicion. Over the next several hours, Marcus learned their story. The small, colorful one, Sarah, had built a translation device from pieces of technology found in crashed pods. Through it, Marcus heard the truth. The aliens who had taken him were called the Valkyrie. They ruled a large part of the galaxy. They conquered other species and used them as slaves, as experiments, as entertainment. For centuries, they had been sending their problems to Nexus 7. Criminals, rebels, anyone who caused trouble. The giant was named Thresh. His people, the Gorath, had been forced to fight in arenas for Valkyrie amusement. Thresh had refused to kill anymore. They sent him here to die. Syrah was a Linthian. Her entire species worked in Valkyrie factories. She had destroyed one of their machines as protest. They sent her here to die. The old blind one was called Keth. He was a Moravan, the last of his kind. His people had been philosophers and teachers. The Valkyrie had wiped them out because ideas are dangerous. They sent him here to die. 17 survivors from 7 different species. All of them had been on Nexus 7 for years. All of them lived by hiding in these caves, eating fungus and small creatures, waiting for death. This is how you live. Marcus asked. Thresh made a sound of anger. This is how we survive. We cannot fight the planet. We cannot fight the Valkyrie. We can only hide. Why? Because we are few and weak. Because the Valkyrie are many and strong. Because there is no hope. Marcus looked around the cave at the sad faces, the thin bodies, the empty eyes. These people had accepted their fate. They believed they were already dead. No, Marcus said. I do not accept this. Old Keth turned his blind eyes toward Marcus. You are new here. You still have fire in you. That fire will die. It always does. It has not died in 15 days. It will not die in 15 years. Marcus stood up and faced them all. The Valkyrie watch us through their satellites. They wait for us to die. They laugh at us. I say we stop hiding. I say we build. Build what? Syrah asked. Everything. Walls to keep out the shrikes. Tools to farm food. Houses to protect us from the storms. A life worth living. Thresh shook his heavy head. The Gorath are strong, but we cannot fight this planet. Then do not fight it. Learn it. Use it. Marcus pointed at Syrah. You built a translator from garbage. What else can you build? He pointed at Thresh. You are the strongest being I have ever seen. What could you create if you tried? He pointed at the others. Each of you has skills, knowledge, strength. Alone, you are weak. Together, we are powerful. The Valkyrie will see, someone said. They will stop us. Let them see. Let them watch a group of garbage build something from nothing. And when they come to stop us, we will be ready. Old Keth laughed, a dry and dusty sound. You truly believe this is possible? On my world, Marcus said. Humans have built cities in deserts where nothing grows. We have built towers so tall they touch the clouds. We have crossed oceans and climbed mountains and walked on our own moon. We do not know how to give up. It is not in our nature. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Thresh stepped forward. I have been dead inside for 5 years, the Gorath said, waiting for my body to follow. You are asking me to hope again. That is cruel. I am asking you to live again. That is kind. Thresh stared at Marcus for a long time. Then he held out one of his 4 hands. Marcus took it. "Tell me what to do, human." One by one, the others joined. Even old Keth, helped to his feet by Sarah, stood with them. That night, they did not hide in their cave. They made plans. Sarah drew designs for tools in the dirt. Thresh talked about where the best stone could be found. Others shared what they knew about the planet, about the animals, about the seasons. Marcus listened to all of it. He asked questions. He learned. And slowly, a picture formed in his mind of what they could become. The Volcari satellites recorded everything. On their home world, viewers watched with confusion. The garbage on Nexus 7 was not dying. The garbage was talking, planning, organizing, and at the center of it all was one small human who refused to accept his fate. By the 90th day on Nexus 7, they had built their first shelter on the surface. It was rough and simple, made of black glass and cave stone, but it kept out the rain and the shrikes and the cold. Marcus stood in front of it as the 6 suns set over the glowing forest. Thresh stood beside him. Behind them, 15 others watched. "It is ugly," Thresh said. "It is ours," Marcus replied. "Tomorrow we build another, then another, until we have a village, then a town, then a city. You dream big, human." Marcus smiled. "That is also our nature." 5 years changed everything. Marcus stood on the edge of the cliff and looked at what they had built. The settlement they called Haven spread across the rock face like a living thing. Houses carved into the stone. Bridges connecting different levels. Gardens growing in boxes filled with treated soil. Smoke rising from forges where Thresh and his apprentices shaped metal into tools. 300 people lived here now. Every month, the Valkyrie sent new exiles to Nexus 7. They dropped them from the sky in metal pods, expecting them to die. Instead, Sarah had built a radio that could detect the pods as they fell. Search parties would find the survivors and bring them to Haven. Not everyone made it. Not everyone wanted to come. But most did. Word spread through whispered messages between exiles. If you are sent to Nexus 7, find the caves. Find the human. He will keep you alive. Marcus walked through the streets of Haven as the sun rose. Children ran past him, playing a game with a ball made of wrapped cloth. They were the first generation born on this planet. They knew nothing of the worlds their parents came from. To them, Haven was home. "Marcus!" a voice called. Old Keth sat on a bench near the school building. He was thinner now, his blind eyes clouded, but his mind was still sharp. Every day, he taught the children about history, philosophy, and the way things used to be. "How are you feeling today, old friend?" Marcus asked. "I am dying," Keth said simply. "But not yet. Not before I see what you will build next." Marcus sat beside him. "We are building a water system. Pipes to carry clean water from the underground rivers to every home. I remember when we drank from puddles and thanked the universe for the poison that did not kill us." Keth made a sound of wonder. "You have given us miracles, Marcus Cole." "Not miracles. Just work, and time, and people who refuse to give up." Sarah found him later in her workshop. The Lynthian engineer had grown over the years. She was still small, still quick, but her confidence had transformed. Her workshop was filled with inventions, most made from the remains of crash pods and salvaged alien technology. "I have good news and bad news," she said. "Bad news first. I intercepted a Volcari transmission. They are watching us more closely than before. High commanders are discussing Haven. They use words like embarrassment and problem and solution." Marcus felt cold in his stomach but kept his face calm. "And the good news?" Sarah smiled, her skin shifting to happy blue colors. "I finished the radio transmitter. We can now send messages, not just receive them." We can talk to other worlds, other rebels, other people who hate the Valkyrie. This was important. Marcus had been planning for this moment for years. Haven was strong, but it was alone. If they could connect with others who fought against the Valkyrie, they could become part of something bigger. Test it tonight, Marcus said. Carefully. We do not want the Valkyrie to trace the signal back to us. Not yet. Thresh found him at sunset on the walls. The Gorath had become Haven's protector, training fighters and building defenses. His forearms now bore the scars of 100 battles against shrikes and other predators. Behind him walked a pack of tamed shrikes, their blade bodies gleaming in the fading light. Taming the shrikes had been Marcus's idea. If you could not defeat a predator, make it your ally. It had taken 2 years and many injuries, but now Haven had the deadliest guard dogs in the galaxy. The patrols found something today, Thresh said. A crashed Valkyrie scout ship. Small, but intact. Syrah thinks she can make it fly. A ship. Their first ship. Marcus felt his heart beat faster. How long to repair it? Months, maybe a year. But Marcus, if we have a ship, we can leave this planet. We are not leaving, Marcus said. This is our home now. But a ship gives us options. It means we can fight back if they come for us. Thresh was quiet for a moment. You think they will come? I know they will. We have gone from garbage to embarrassment. Soon we will become threat. The Valkyrie did not ignore threats. They stood together watching the stars appear. Somewhere up there, the Valkyrie Empire spread across 1,000 worlds. Millions of ships. Billions of soldiers. Against them, Haven had 300 people and 1 broken scout ship. The odds meant nothing to Marcus. He had been fighting bad odds his entire life. The first year had been about survival. Learning to breathe the air. Finding food and water. Staying alive one day at a time. The second year had been about shelter. Building walls. Creating safe places. Protecting their people from the constant dangers of Nexus 7. The third year had been about growth. Farming, breeding, making more than they used. The fourth year had been about community, laws, schools, order, teaching people to live together in peace. The fifth year was about strength, training fighters, building weapons, preparing for war. Marcus had not told everyone what he knew. He had not shared the Valkyrie transmissions with the common people of Haven. They did not need that fear. They needed hope. But he had told his inner circle. Thresh knew. Syrah knew. The Council of Elders knew. War was coming. Not today. Not tomorrow. But soon, on the last day of their 5th year, Marcus gathered everyone in the central square. 300 faces looked up at him from 12 different species. Gorath and Lintian and Moravan and many others. All of them survivors. All of them family. 5 years ago, Marcus said, I fell from the sky in a metal box. I was alone. I was supposed to die. Instead, I found you. Together, we built something impossible. A home on a world that wanted to kill us. A community of people who were thrown away like garbage. He paused, looking at the faces he had grown to love. The Valkyrie are watching us. They are afraid of what we have done. Soon, they will try to destroy us. They will send soldiers, ships, weapons. They think we are still garbage. They think we will break easily. His voice grew stronger. They are wrong. We have survived everything this planet could throw at us. We have tamed its predators. We have grown food in its poisoned soil. We have built a city in its deadliest place. If the Valkyrie want to destroy us, they will have to fight for every inch of ground. And they will learn what we have learned over 5 hard years. Marcus raised his fist to the sky. We do not die easy. The crowd roared. 300 voices from a dozen species, united in defiance. That night, Valkyrie satellites recorded the celebration in Haven. They recorded the lights and the music and the dancing. They transmitted everything back to their commanders. The High Council watched in cold silence. Then they gave the order: send the harvesters. Destroy the human and his garbage kingdom. Make an example. War was coming to Nexus 7. The Valkyrie warships arrived on a gray morning. 3 massive vessels hung in the sky like angry gods, blocking out the sick yellow sun. Their shadows fell across Haven, turning day into twilight. Marcus stood on the walls with Thresh and watched the enemy descend. Drop pods fell like metal rain, thousands of them crashing into the black glass plains below. Harvesters, Thresh said, his voice grim. I have heard of them. Soldiers grown in tanks. No fear, no mercy, no thought except to kill. Marcus watched the pods open. The harvesters emerged, tall and wrong. They had bodies like the Valkyrie but twisted, made for war. Blades grew from their arms. Their eyes glowed red in the darkness. They moved together like a single creature with 5,000 bodies. How many do we have? Marcus asked. 300 fighters. Maybe 50 more who can hold a weapon. 5,000 against 350. Marcus had faced bad numbers before. Never this bad. Then we make every life cost them dearly, he said. Fall back to the caves. Begin the plan. They had prepared for 2 years. Every decision, every construction, every training session had been building toward this moment. Haven was not just a city. It was a trap. The harvesters marched toward the walls. They expected an easy fight. Primitives with simple weapons. Garbage to be cleaned. The first wave hit the outer defenses and died. Hidden pits filled with sharp glass opened beneath their feet. Walls collapsed and crushed them. Explosives made from chemicals found on Nexus 7 tore holes in their formation, but there were so many. For every harvester that fell, 10 more took its place. By noon, the outer walls were lost. Haven's fighters retreated into the cliff city, pulling the enemy into narrow streets and tight corners. Here, the harvesters' numbers meant less. Here, every shadow hid a defender. Thresh led the ground fighters. His forearms swung a massive hammer made of black glass, crushing harvesters with every blow. Around him, his trained shrikes tore into the enemy, their blade bodies slicing through harvester armor like paper. Syrah worked from a hidden bunker, coordinating defenses through her radio network. She tracked enemy movements and warned fighters of incoming attacks. Her voice was calm, even as the world burned around her. Old Keth would not leave the school. When Marcus begged them to retreat to the deep caves, the blind philosopher refused. The children need to see that old men can be brave too, Keth said. Go, fight, win. I will guard the young ones. When harvesters broke through to the school, Keth was waiting. He could not see them, but he could hear them. He stood in the doorway with a blade in his thin hands. You want the children? He said to the darkness, full of red eyes. Come through me first. He killed 3 before they brought him down. 3 harvesters, engineered for war, killed by a blind old man who refused to move. The children escaped through tunnels while Keth's body blocked the door. Marcus learned of Keth's death an hour later. He felt the loss like a knife in his heart, but there was no time for grief. Not yet. Grief was for after. Now there was only war. The battle lasted for weeks, then months, then years. The Valkyrie had expected victory in days. Instead, they found themselves trapped in a nightmare. The tunnel systems went deep into the planet, twisting for miles in every direction. Every corner held an ambush. Every shadow held death. Marcus used everything he had learned in his years as a soldier. He struck at supply lines. He attacked at night when the harvester's eyes did not work as well. He spread lies through captured communication devices, making the enemy chase ghosts. Thresh lost an arm in the second year. A harvester blade cut through muscle and bone before the Goroth could react. He did not stop fighting. He learned to swing his hammer with 3 arms instead of 4. Sarah's workshop was destroyed by fire. She watched years of work burn to nothing. Then she found a new cave and started building again. Olinthian never stopped creating. The children grew up in the tunnels. They learned to fight before they learned to read. They learned to kill before they learned to love. This was the cost of survival. This was the price of freedom. By the end of the second year, the harvesters had lost half their number. The Valkyrie sent more. They lost those too. The death world that was supposed to kill Marcus had become a weapon in his hands. The turning point came on a night when both moons were dark. Marcus had been planning this for months. Sira had finally repaired the crashed scout ship. It could fly, but only once. One chance. One mission. "This is insane," Thresh said when he heard the plan. "That is why it will work. The Valkyrie have fought us for 2 years. They think they know what we can do. They do not expect this." 20 volunteers climbed into the small ship. Marcus led them. They flew straight up, through the yellow clouds, past the satellites, toward the Valkyrie command vessel. The enemy did not react at first. The ship was Valkyrie design. It sent the right signals. By the time they realized the danger, Marcus and his team were already inside. The fight through the command ship was brutal. Valkyrie soldiers died in corridors and control rooms. Marcus took wounds that should have killed him. He kept moving. He had not come this far to fail. They reached the command center. The fleet commander, a Valkyrie noble with golden marks on his shell, stood surrounded by guards. He looked at Marcus with something like curiosity. "You are the human," he said through a translator. "The one who will not die." "I have not finished dying yet," Marcus replied. "But you have." The battle was short. The guards fought well, but Marcus and his volunteers fought better. When it was over, the fleet commander knelt in his own blood, and Marcus controlled the communication systems of the entire fleet. "What now?" Thresh asked, breathing hard from his wounds. "Do we kill him?" "No, we do something better. We talk." Marcus activated the broadcast system. His voice went out across every Valkyrie ship. It went to the satellites. It went to relay stations that carry it to 100 worlds. "My name is Marcus Cole. I am human. 2 years ago, the Valkyrie left me on Nexus 7 to die. Instead, I built a nation. They sent 5,000 soldiers to destroy us. We destroyed them instead." He paused, letting his words sink in. "I am speaking now to every slave in the Valkyrie Empire. Every exile. Every forgotten soul. The masters are not as strong as they pretend. They can be beaten. They can be broken. If a single human and a handful of refugees can bring them to their knees on a death world, imagine what you could do on your own planets." He looked at the kneeling fleet commander. To the Valkyrie, "I say this. Nexus 7 is no longer your garbage dump. It is the Free Republic of Nexer. Any ship that enters our space without permission will be destroyed. Any slave who reaches our planet will find sanctuary. Any species that wants freedom will find an ally." Marcus smiled, the same dangerous smile that had terrified his captors 7 years ago. "You threw me away because you thought I was garbage. You were wrong. And now the garbage is coming for you." The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings had heard his words. On 100 enslaved worlds, something dangerous began to grow. Hope. The Valkyrie fleet retreated from Nexus 7. They had lost too many soldiers, too many ships, too much pride. The war for the Death World was over. Marcus watched them leave from the surface of his planet. Beside him stood Thresh, missing an arm but still standing. Behind them, the survivors emerged from caves and tunnels, looking at a sky free of enemy ships for the first time in 2 years. They had won, but Marcus knew this was not the end. The Valkyrie would return. The war would continue. The galaxy was changing, and Haven stood at the center of that change. In the distance, he saw new lights in the sky. Ships, not Valkyrie. Refugee ships answering his broadcast. Coming to find sanctuary. Coming home. 20 years after Marcus Cole fell from the sky, Nexus 7 had become something impossible. The Death World was no longer dead. Machines built by Lynthian engineers cleaned the poison from the air. Farms spread across plains that once grew only glass and danger. Cities rose where only monsters had lived before. 2 million people called this planet home. Marcus walked slowly through the capital city, now named Refuge. His hair had turned gray. His body carried the scars of 100 battles. He moved carefully, feeling his age in his bones. But his eyes were still sharp, still watching, still thinking. Children ran past him in the streets. Some had 4 arms like Gorth. Some had shifting skin like Lynthians. Some looked like nothing he had ever seen before. And some, a growing number, looked like him. Humans born on Nexer, the sons and daughters of refugees who had escaped Earth in the years since his broadcast. Father. A young woman fell into step beside him. Elena Cole had her father's dark eyes and stubborn jaw. She had been born on Nexer 15 years ago, the first human child of the New World. Now she served on the Republic's council, already showing the leadership that ran in her blood. "You should be resting," Elena said. "The doctors said your heart needs quiet." "My heart has never been quiet," Marcus replied. "It does not plan to start now." They walked together toward the Parliament building. It had been constructed from the same black glass that covered the planet, but shaped into something beautiful. Towers and arches and windows that caught the light of a sun that no longer looked sick through the cleaned atmosphere. Inside, representatives from 30 species waited. They sat in a great circular chamber, arguing and debating and voting on the laws that would govern their shared republic. This was Marcus's greatest achievement. Not the wars he had won, not the cities he had built, but this room where former enemies learned to talk instead of fight. Marcus took his place at the center of the chamber. The room fell silent. "I will not speak long," he said. "I have said enough over the years. Too much, maybe." Laughter rippled through the crowd. They knew him well, the human who never stopped talking about hope. 20 years ago, I was garbage. We all were. Thrown away by an empire that thought we were worthless. They expected us to die. They were very wrong. He looked around the room at faces that had become family. The Valkyrie Empire is breaking apart. 3 of their slave species have won freedom in the past 5 years. Others are fighting now. The tyrants who once ruled 1,000 worlds now rule only 100. And it started here. It started with us, with a group of refugees who refused to die. He paused, gathering his thoughts. I will not live forever. None of us will. But what we have built, this republic of the forgotten, this nation of the abandoned, this will outlast all of us. Our children will carry it forward. Their children will carry it further. And one day, the galaxy will look back at this moment and remember. His voice grew strong despite his tired body. They will remember that the Valkyrie made a mistake. They threw away their garbage on a death world and expected it to rot. Instead, the garbage built a civilization. The weak became strong. The broken became whole. The forgotten became unforgettable. Marcus raised his hand, and 2 million voices across the planet raised theirs with him. This is the Republic of Nexer. This is our home, and we will defend it until the last star burns out." The chamber erupted in cheers. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years stood together, united by a human who had refused to accept defeat. That night, Marcus sat alone on a balcony overlooking the city. The lights of refuge spread before him like stars fallen to Earth. Ships moved through the sky, coming and going from the spaceport. A fleet now, not just one broken scout ship. 40 vessels that protected their world and carried their message to others. Thresh found him there. The Gorath was old now too, his stone-gray skin cracked and weathered. He had lost the arm in the war and never replaced it. He said it reminded him of what they had survived. "You spoke well today," Thresh said. "I spoke the truth. That is usually enough. Is it strange? To see what we have become?" Marcus smiled. "Every day. Every single day I wake up and cannot believe this is real. That I am not still in that first cave, eating shrike meat and wondering if I would survive the night. We did more than survive. Yes, we lived. We built. We loved. We made something that will last." Marcus looked at his old friend. "Do you remember what I told you that first night? When I asked you to hope again, you said it was kind. I was wrong about that too. It was not kind. It was necessary. Without hope, we would have died in those caves. With it, we conquered a planet and broke an empire." They sat together in comfortable silence. Two old warriors watching the world they had made. Sira joined them later, her skin glowing soft purple in the moonlight. She brought news that a Valkyrie ambassador had arrived seeking peace talks. The empire that had thrown them away now came begging for friendship. "What should we tell them?" Sira asked. "Tell them we will listen," Marcus said. "We have always been willing to listen." It was they who refused to hear. 3 years later, Marcus Cole died in his sleep. He was surrounded by his daughter, his friends, and the leaders of 30 species who owed him everything. The doctor said his heart simply stopped, tired after a lifetime of fighting. The funeral was held in the central square of refuge. 2 million people came to pay respects, filling the streets and rooftops and sky bridges. Representatives from a dozen free worlds attended. Even the Valkyrie ambassador came, standing silent at the edge of the crowd. Thresh spoke first. His voice, rough as grinding stone, carried across the silent city. "I was dead when I met Marcus Cole. My body breathed, but my spirit had left me. He gave me back my life. He gave all of us back our lives. Not through magic or miracles, but through something simpler. He believed in us when we did not believe in ourselves." Elena spoke last. She stood where her father had stood so many times before. "My father often told me about Earth, about the blue oceans and the green forests and the humans who lived there. He said humans were special because they never knew when to quit. They would try impossible things and succeed through sheer stubbornness." She looked at the crowd, at the faces of every species her father had united. "But I think he was wrong about one thing. That stubbornness is not just human. I see it in the Gorath who refuse to fight for entertainment. I see it in the Linthians who sabotage their masters. I see it in everyone who survived Nexer 7 when the universe wanted them dead." Her voice rang out strong and clear. "My father did not make us strong. He showed us we were already strong. And now that strength belongs to all of us. To every forgotten soul who finds their way to these shores. We are the children of Marcus Cole, and like him, we will never give up." The crowd roared. Species that had been slaves roared. Species that had been forgotten roared. And somewhere, watching through whatever comes after death, Marcus Cole smiled. 50 years after his arrival on Nexer 7, his statue stood in the center of refuge. A simple figure of a man looking up at the sky, one hand raised toward the stars, He had never stopped reaching for dot at its base. Words were carved in 100 languages. The same words in every tongue. They threw him away. He built a world the galaxy had never forgotten, and it never would.